All right, welcome everybody to the 5th episode of the Northeast Bass Fishing Podcast, presented by Thayer Marine. I'm Chris Adams, and I'm joined by my co-host Tommy Waltz, and we've got another awesome guest tonight, hailing from Plattsburgh, New York. He's got 3 FLW MLF top 10s, over $32,000 in earnings with FLW. He's fresh off I think his first ABA win last week on Lake Champlain. I think he's got at least one Champlain Bass Series win, some Bassmaster Open top 10s, and by my estimation, probably one of the hottest anglers on Lake Champlain in the last 3 years, and certainly so far this season. 2 wins. He won the first Champlain Bass Series event of the season, and then followed up the next week with his first ABA win as well. So welcome to the podcast, Brett Carnright.
Thank you very much, Chris. It's great to be here. I love hanging out with you and Tommy, 2 longtime buddies since probably 2013, which is a long time for me.
Yeah, man. I used to not have gray in my beard when I first met you, I think. It's been a long time.
Yeah, I started out fishing the Bass Series. That's how I met you guys. And I never drew Chris as a co-angler, but I did have Tommy as a co-angler one time. And that was a good deal.
I probably taught you a lot that day. I drew you and Ryan that year, like 2 of the younger guys. Yeah. And actually Ryan won when I had Ryan. We both won. We just smoked him. Me and you both should have won too. Looking back, I'm an idiot. But yeah. I remember we got out, we ran through some rough water. I'm like, I got this younger guy with me. It's just kind of sketchy, but we ran through some rough water. I remember we got to the spot, we started fishing. And you're like, hey, do you mind if I turn the back graph on? I'm like, it is on. I got no transducer. You're like, how do you not have a transducer? I was like, yeah, it's just how I roll. And we started catching fish, and it was the fall. I was like, yeah, these are all 2.5, 3 pounds. They turned out to be bigger than I thought. So I'm like, we got to get out of here. These fish are small. They turned out they were like 3.5 to 3 3/4. So we both, I think you only had 4 fish too. You didn't have a limit when we left, and we didn't catch another fish all day. And we were sitting on the win in school.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that because I was going to talk about this, how I drew you. Now, I've watched a lot of fishing as a co-angler. I did learn a lot that event, because that was when I first realized
what not to do. You should have a transducer at all times on your main graph, and you should probably be weighing your fish and not just saying, I think it's 3 pounds, it's on your live well.
So the Bass Series, the co-anglers, this was back before we had high school anglers. So the co-anglers could just be anybody. You guys had like a bunch of hammers coming in trying to fish as a co-angler. And in 2013, I would have been like 20 years old.
Yeah, so you were young. You and Ryan were the 2 young guys.
Yeah, we get into the Bass Series, and it's a Vermont-based group. So we're out of Plattsburgh. And so I draw Tommy Waltz. It's like our 4th event ever. I don't really know Tommy, but I heard that he was on like a mega school. So we run up, whatever, and we get on this deal, and we're not allowed to tell the boater anything as a co-angler. It's a no information sharing. So I can't tell Tommy, let's stay, let's do this. I can't really tell him anything. So it's all up to Tommy. We pull up. I do remember you had no transducer. I'm like, dude, are you kidding me? Like, what the? So anyway, because as time goes on, right, I'm like huge on electronics. So like this is the beginning. So Tommy pulls up. He's on the winning school. And this is one thing that it's what I've learned over the years is finding the winning fish on this lake, especially smallmouth, and just knowing you're on that group to win the tournament. Like you can just tell, like if you do it enough, you start to learn you have big event or big tournament like wins or just huge bags of fish, and you go, God, that was the deal. Like I should have known. So Tommy actually leaves that school after honestly 1 hour. The first 5 fish you caught were the 5 fish you weighed in.
Yeah.
And it was 18.5 pounds or something. I think you came in 3rd place. You missed the win by like a pound.
Second. I came in second.
First 5 fish, the first 5 fish he hooked of the whole day. Like he never even culled. I drop down, I catch 3, and I've got like 10 pounds for 3 fish, maybe 11 pounds for 3 fish, big ones. and we can't see him on the graph because he's got no transducers. This is low. They're low. And Tommy's like, hey, we got to go, man. And I'm just like, okay, whatever. So I end up catching a limit. I think I came in third as a co-angler in that. I think Mark Hickory won that tournament as a co-angler. And yeah, Tommy was on a mega bag. I don't know. That was like a 21 or 22 pound school of fish. I feel
this is partly your fault because I think you thought those fish weren't as big too, because I was like, how big is that? I remember talking to you about it. And here's the deal. You're fishing against all these other guys. That time of year, you're like, oh, I need 20, 21. So I was like, I got to go catch a big largemouth. That didn't work. If I had scaled those fish and knew the size of them, I would have been like, yeah, we're just going to grind it out here. I was just an idiot.
I've got two comments on that. One, me and Tommy fished a pile of team tournaments together, and I remember days where, like, you know, tough day, windy, like cold, overcast, just rough conditions, and I'd be like, like Tommy, I think we're doing okay, and he'd always downplay the size of our fish or like what we were on, and then at the end of the day, it's like, holy shit, like we either were close to winning or we won, or, you know, it was a lot better than we expected. So he's a eternal pessimist for sure. And then the second thing was, I think the tournament you're talking about, I had Mark Hickory, who was my co-angler for like the 10th time. He was always my co-angler. And
the worst draw you can have.
Oh my God, he caught a 6-pounder behind me, largemouth flipping grass, and I think that was exactly that tournament. So yeah. Actually,
that day I remember I had some largemouth spot that was just wind blown. I was like, this isn't gonna work. I'm like, we got to run back to Mallett's Bay. I got this weed clump. I always catch one out there. I'm like, Chris knows that spot too. I got to beat him back there. So let's go back early. We went back. It was dead. And we were stuck there for like the next 2 hours. And then sure enough, Chris and Mark pulled in. I was like, there's nothing here, man. It's done. Yeah. And we just sat there.
Yeah. The deal was with that is it was so rough. It was probably blowing 20 or 25 from the south. So we come out of Mallett's Bay, we run it. We actually end up in the inland sea. I'm not going to say where we were, but we were in the inland sea.
Why not?
That spot's gone anyway. It's smoked.
9 a.m. He wants to go to Mallett's and flip. So we run the Sandbar Bridge.
He was feeling the pressure because I knew the spot.
Yeah, it's late September, and he goes and runs the Sandbar Bridge in like literally 4 footers. And we get through, but he's like, I can't get back in. Like, so it's either run all the way back out on the main lake where it's gassing to get back in the sea, or we just burn the whole day up in Mallett's. And yeah, that was one of the things that I've really learned was like, boy, that was a kind of a bad decision, Tommy. Like
it was. No, you're right.
Yeah.
Yep. And I have a Rapala scale now, so I weigh all my fish. So, and I have a transducer on this boat that doesn't work right now, so I'm good.
So Tommy, you were right. He learned everything not to do, right?
Exactly. It's trial and error. You can only be an idiot for so long.
Hey, Brett, I just want to back up a little bit. It's we'll get back to telling some old war stories and talk about some of these recent tournaments that these recent wins you've had. But I just want to, for anybody that's watching, just give us a little bit of background about like how you got started. Obviously, you grew up in a place that I think, like, with all the major tournaments that go there in Plattsburgh, that what better place? Great, Champlain obviously is one of the best fisheries in the world, but you were around the tournament scene probably as a little kid, just having all the major events come to Plattsburgh. Like, what a great place to grow up.
Yeah, exactly. So starting out fishing, I didn't get into it until about 2002. I grew up on Cumberland Head, which is right near the ferry. So if you go north of the ferry, cutting into Treadwell Bay, there's a little bay called Martin Bay. My house where I grew up is right up the road from there. So that's where I started fishing. I was about 9 years old. This was 2002. There was an FLW, I think it was a series event. Honestly, probably Tommy LaVictory fished it. If you look back at that tournament, there was absolute mega hammers. All the MLF guys, the Bassmaster Elite guys, all these boys were fishing the FLW back then. And we went to Walmart and watched the weigh-in. I had never bass fished. We just went to the weigh-in. They had like the big tents, up in the parking lot. And I was like, what in the world is going on here? So anyway, after that tournament, I was like, we should go fishing. Like, we've got the lake. So I think I fished like 5 days in a row. My parents had it was like our family. We had a little 12-foot dinghy John boat. We go out there and row around. I think for 5 days I didn't catch anything. This is legit. But my brother caught about a 12-incher on a worm, live bait. And I think it was the first day or second day we were out there. And I ended up fishing off the bank because my parents or my dad couldn't go on the boat with us. And, I'm only 9 years old. And so I catch my first bass. It's like a 14-incher. So that's when I started bass fishing. And I didn't really get hardcore into it until probably 2004 because, I was in like late elementary school or middle school.
You were 7.
So anyway, started doing that. I never fished tournaments until I was like 15. And Ryan, and I'm sure you guys are gonna have Ryan on one day, but Ryan Lattenville's my cousin. So we started around the same time and both caught the bug at the same time. My dad never fished. My grandfather's never fished. So fishing wasn't in our family. I didn't know anybody that fished. That's how we just started, is watching that FLW tournament come to town and just getting after it. So 15 comes around, or not 15, 2008, I was 15 years old. We start fishing the Plattsburgh Bass Club. We fished that for like 3 years. And then it folded, and we won Angler of the Year, Ryan and I, 2 times out of the 3 years. We came in second, I think, the other year, the first year they had it. So we were right off the rip, we were doing pretty good, but these were just small little club tournaments. And then this was like Ed Daniels. The club still happened, or still going on. It's just called the North Country Bass Anglers. They kind of merged with the Plattsburgh Bass Club, and the club still has tournaments to this day, but I just haven't fished any.
What'd you have for a boat and stuff? I mean, you were pretty young then. What were you guys?
Yeah. So I started out using a 10-foot aluminum flat bottom with a 40-pound thrust Minn Kota just on the transom. And that's how we fished at the house. But we had, by 2006, my parents had bought me a 16-foot Lund with a 20-horse motor. And I ended up running that boat for 10 years anyway. I learned, I cut my teeth out of that boat.
Yeah.
We used that boat, and we also used a pontoon boat. My uncle Tommy, Ryan's grandfather, had a pontoon boat, and we used that in the club tournaments. And won out of the pontoon boat.
Did it have a live well, or did you put the fish in a cooler, or what'd you do?
It had a live well. It was a fishing pontoon boat. It had a trolling motor and a live well.
Would you sit on a couch and fish at the same time, or
yeah, legitimately a couch you could sit on and fish. So anyway, Ryan ended up getting a nitro, an 18-foot nitro in 2009. So we switched over a couple years after into that boat. Ran that boat till 2011, then he got a 20-foot Triton. By then, the Plattsburgh Bass Club had folded, and we switched over to fishing the team tournaments, like the Northern Bass Supplies, or they're now the Reynolds, I believe, and some of the opens in Vermont. And we fished those for quite a few years, I would say, until probably 2014. We got into some TBF stuff, some New York TBF stuff as a co-angler. A couple ABAs as a co-angler, and working our way up. And then in, I would say 2015 or 2014, Ryan started fishing as a boater in the Costas and BFLs. And I never fished any as a co-angler. I just really wasn't into it. And started fishing the Champlain Bass Series in 2013 as a co, and did that until 2016. I got the boat I'm sitting in right now, which is my Phoenix 721. So I went from a 16-foot aluminum John boat, basically. It was a Mr. Pike walleye, or Lund boat, walleye pike boat, into this 721 Phoenix with a 250. That's what I jumped into. And immediately started fishing the ABAs, local, all the team tournaments. I jumped right to the front of the boat for the Bass Series. Had a decent year the first year. September 2016, I fished the Bassmaster Open and came in 7th place in that. So that was my first major tournament success. Had a top 10, I think, 1 or 2 in the ABAs that year, and then won a few big team tournaments, just catching mega sacks, 26, 27 pounds, I remember. almost won a big tournament, like a Northern Bass at a tie, came in second. And that's when we kind of started to maybe make a name for ourselves. You know, guys were like, man, these kids are like 23 years old coming over here from Plattsburgh. And you guys had already known about us from the Bass Series, but 2017, I come in 5th place in the Costa. 20, and then a couple, you know, another good season in 2017. 2018, I come in 2nd in the Costa. I was leading day 1, day 2, and fell to 2nd, lost by I think 8 ounces to Ron Nelson. That tournament might have sparked Ron Nelson's career as a professional. Went on to win Angler of the Year the following, or Rookie of the Year the following year.
You guys are both.
Right,
you guys are both kind of responsible for Ron Nelson being a professional fisherman right now. You guys both contributed, right?
Maybe. Yeah. Sure. I would have liked to win that tournament. Trust me, it's still, that one eats me more than anything else. Like I have the trophy.
Both of you back to back, right? Wasn't it back to back?
Yeah, back to back seconds. Yeah, and the crazy thing is I think we talked about this, Tommy, maybe on the with I can't remember who, one of the prior guests, but when Nelson beat me in 2017, I think the margin was a little bit bigger, Brett, than it was a little tighter, I think, when he beat you. But he caught I think it was a 5-pound largemouth on day 3 that was a cruising fish that he followed. He said he followed it for like 300-400 yards. Kept throwing at like post spawn, cruiser, whatever stage it was, I don't know. And like those are fish you don't catch, right? And finally, he said he followed it for like 10 minutes. He finally got it to bite, and he caught it. It was a 5-pounder, and that was kind of what did it. And I left a few good ones out there. I mean, Bill Spence was with me. He saw at least one of them that was a stud that I couldn't catch. So like it's just crazy, you know, when it's your time, and those little things happen. And I think that Brett and I both probably helped to get Ron going.
And the sucky part is both you guys, like, you both had good final days. Like I think Brett too, you had like 19 pounds the last day or something, right?
I had a slight lead. I think I had a 7-ounce lead on him, and
but you had a good final day, right? You had like
Ronnie, I had 18-10 on the final day, I believe.
That's
and
good.
Ronnie,
Chris, same thing. At all the locals, Chris, you were the only one that caught him last day. So you guys both had good days. It's just that guy just
2017, the weights it was just a different stage, and the weights were a lot lower than 18. But I remember in 17, you know, Bill Spence was my co-angler, and he said to me in line that I think it was Shane McFarland might have been the leader for 2 days, and
he was
Bill,
leading,
and you know, I didn't have a huge bag. I think I had 17 pounds or something, but it was kind of like in the mix because Bill came up to me and said, he's like, Chris, I think he might have it. He's like, I heard that Shane had battery problems and he didn't catch him today. And my stomach just about dropped, and I started getting like kind of sick to my stomach.
I remember you texting me. You're like in line, like, I think I got this one, because you had everyone accounted for.
Yeah.
No one accounted for Ron Nelson, who had 2 big largemouth.
Yeah. Yeah. So crazy. Just hard. They're so hard to win, Brett, you know, and just a crazy game, right?
Yeah. They and it's a different feeling to be that close to winning. Like the year in 2017 when I came in 5th, I knew I needed like a 20-pound bag or 21 to probably win that tournament on the final day. And I mean, to be as close, like second to lead it going into the final day was another deal. And it's crazy how, I mean, I'm sure you can't sleep at night sometimes too. Like you're just like, oh my God, like I was so close to winning that, because people really remember like the first place, you know, like. Yeah. And I know how you feel, because we both have a 5th and a 2nd. You came in 5th the year I came in 2nd.
Yep.
And it just like killed me, dude. And what was crazy about that tournament is I left the dock, and I never even brought this up in my past, but I used to fish the Saranac River, the mouth of the Saranac. I used to walk, we call it the Monument. Dude, I'd fish that place every day off the bank for like 5 years basically. And I idled around the point, and it was just me like on the boat, and it was like one of the worst deals, right? Like I just missed out on a chance to win a Costa at the age of, I think I was 25. And I had a great day. Like I didn't lose the tournament. I didn't feel like I had a good day. anytime you can catch, I think I had 21, I had like over 41 pounds, I think, or 41, somewhere around 41 going to the final day and catching another almost 19 pounds. And I was like, oh my God, like I might've actually done this. And then I was at the scales at the bump board when Ronnie got announced, like his weight. And I just, oh my God, dude, I got crushed. I knew I had 18 3/4. I knew I didn't have 19 1/4. And I said, God, I'm going to lose by like 6 ounces. And it like destroyed me. Honestly, it was like one of the worst like 30 minutes of my life. Like I've never watched the speech. I've been told I had like a terrible speech on stage, but just like not good. And it literally, like, that's what I do, dude. I fish and to win those tournaments. Like I wanted to be the first guy in Plattsburgh, a local, to win a major event because I don't think anybody's done it. And especially
I had a similar feeling. I remember he weighed in before me in 17, and as soon as he weighed in, like I knew the math in my head. I knew what I had, and my mom and dad were there, and my dad, longtime Champlain fisherman, kind of taught me. And as soon as Ron, weighed in and his weight was announced, I looked at my dad and I just shook my head, like I knew, it wasn't gonna happen.
Dude, I felt the same way. Like it's still like I remember looking out at my parents because they didn't know like what I had, and I knew, and I just looked out and I was like, God, man, like this is gonna be like, I'm a competitive person. You played hockey, I played hockey.
Right.
We know what defeat, like what loss feels like. We know what victory feels like. And I just was for that little bit, man. But I idled out, and I remember my batteries were completely dead, like my engine. I left everything running for like 3 hours while we weighed in, and I got my engine started, and I idled around the point towards the ramp, and I saw the river, and it still kind of like gets at me, man. And just my whole life, kind of from 2002 fishing in that river to 2018, it was like everything that 16 years of my whole life being a bass fisherman, like it was right there, like from where sitting in my boat, almost having that victory. And I actually like lost it, man. Like pulling my boat out, I was the only one there, and like I just broke down, and it was a bad deal. I'm not like ashamed about it. Dude, I want to be the best. Like I want to win these tournaments. I want to just like, and it was just something that I probably never even really told anybody about. And it was just like such a crazy, but I also realized like it didn't even matter because it was bass fishing. Like I had so much fun when I was a kid fishing that river, and I had so much fun fishing that tournament. I was like, it doesn't, in the grand scheme of things, it's not a big deal. The bass fishing is like what I just love to do. And if I came in second, it was going to be okay. Is kind of like what I felt after I like pulled my boat out. I was like, it was a crazy roller coaster ride of emotions.
Yeah. I think for someone like you and a lot of guys, I think, I don't want to generalize, but I think that there are certain people and certain anglers that really put a ton into it. And like, I think you told me one time when you got your new boat, you had 1,000 hours on your Mercury in like 3 months or something crazy like that. And like, maybe not 1,000, but it was like 400 or 500 hours. I just couldn't believe it.
Probably 300. Yeah.
Yeah. But the point was like, there's guys that just like you that work so hard and invest so much into it. That it makes it that much tougher when you lose, but that much sweeter when you win too. Cause the guys that maybe get lucky or don't have as much invested, they just don't appreciate it as much. So certainly understand like where you were. I looked at it very much the same way when I lost. I had a chance to win that, but I came back to the same exact place. Like one, it was a ton of fun, and two, it was so disappointing to lose because like a major win like that can really jumpstart things and give you inroads into the next level and kind of get things going. But at the same time, I said to somebody, I was like, well, I'm fishing, I'm getting paid to fish, and I've had a lot of wins, a lot of days that went in my favor. So like one day that doesn't go exactly right, what are you going to do? That's part of the game. And like, your day will come, right? That's kind of how I looked at it. So,
but yeah. So after 2018, I continued, and I ended up the week after, I ended up catching like a 21-pound bag of smallmouth, the most epic day of smallmouth fishing in a tournament ever. I caught them on a topwater, mega school, like unreal. There was hundreds of them, 4 to 5 pound smallmouth. My co-angler in the Champlain Bass Series event caught like 14 pounds with 3 smallmouth behind me. I had almost 21. I ended up losing that tournament too. I think Tim Aldrich might have won that one out of
but didn't all your fish die or something? Is that why you lost?
I had 2 die on the way back in. It was like 100 degrees. I had to run back from up north down to Port Henry.
It probably had nothing to do with your boat driving either, right? It was just the water was nothing to do with you driving a little too fast, right?
I was getting after it, dude. I only had 2 minutes to I remember I hit Willsboro Bay, and it's like, I don't know, I think it's like 25 miles to Port Henry from like Willsboro Bay or something. And I had 27 minutes to get in, and I was running about 60, 65. I was hauling, and I stopped like one time to get water for him, and it just, I feel bad about that, but I didn't lose a tournament from dead fish. But that tournament, right after that coast, I was like, God, I was close to winning because I hadn't won a Bass Series event yet. And I thought that was going to be my day. It was a magical day. It was unreal. I told my co-angler, it was his first tournament ever. I said, dude, I'm telling you, I've never seen anything like this. I've been fishing for 16 years. And this is the most insane thing I've ever seen in my whole life. I didn't even know that schools of smallmouth like lived on this lake that were like that. And anyway, I had a good 2018. 2019, I didn't do that well in 2019. I had a couple second places in the Bass Series. The Costa I kind of bombed out of. I came in like 60th. I went for the win in that. I had some fish and tie, and I thought I could almost win that tournament out of that. And the water got clear anyway on me, and I ended up catching like 14 a day and came in 60th, which it is what it is, man. I'm trying to win those things. I've had 3 top 10s in those and a second place, and I was like, God, like I don't fish those to cash a $1,000 check. Like
our tournaments, Brett, are literally like they're like mirrors of each other, because that 2019 Costa, same exact thing. I run to tie, got like 17 the first day, go down there the second day. I think it was a north wind maybe that day. Everything was switched. Everything was switched around. I caught 2 really big ones, and then I had 2 rats, and I weighed 4 fish. I had like 13 pounds or something. And one of the only times I can remember that I weighed 4 fish, and I lost a few smallies. I was scrambling at the end, and I lost some smallies at the end that would have helped me a ton. But it's like our tournament, a lot of our tournaments are like mirrors. It's crazy. Like, I don't know if it's what we do or how we approach things.
Yeah, that I've had one rule my whole life is do not run a tie in a north wind. Like I hate tying a north wind, and I ran a tie in a Costa on a north wind.
Yeah.
And so anyway, 2019 was so. Did okay, like just locally, and so then 2020 comes around, and I was planning on all the Costas and stuff, and I ended up messing around with the ABA. So I had the first ABA to Platts or Ticonderoga. I came in like 15th. Then I go out to the St. Lawrence River to fish the Costa. They canceled that, so I said, I'll just fish the ABA, and lived on Lake Ontario for like 9 days. And this is where things get real crazy. Is I figure out that place a little bit, and I'm like, oh my God, I love this place, right? So I think I got on the lake like 7 or 8 out of those 8 or 9 days I was there, and saw some unreal stuff, and just I caught my personal best. It was a 6:28 the first day I was on the lake. Like the first day I went out in the lake, 25 feet of water in July, like early July. I said, there ain't no way those are bass. And I dropped down and catch like a 580, a 590, and then a 6:28, all in like a real short period of time. And I couldn't even believe what I was witnessing. I didn't even think that they looked like dinosaurs. I don't even know what those fish that are that big, you're used to catching 4-pounders, maybe a 5-pounder on Champlain, and you catch a quality, like the caliber of fish like that. And it's like, oh my God. Like, so anyway, I end up coming in like 15th or something in that ABA, and decided I'd do the whole series. And went out to Oneida, came in third, had a chance to win that ABA, and just had like a good day, but came in third. And then went out to Cayuga, had a pretty bad tournament there, but came in like 30th. Only weighed one fish, and there were 60 boats, and I came in 30th with one fish. That's how bad I think there was like 27 or 30 zeros.
That's when they sprayed all the grass, right?
Yeah. So I actually, in practice, I caught 0 fish the first day of practice, 0 fish the second day of practice. And I mean, I fished from 5 a.m. to like 9 at night. Like I'm like long time on the water, right? I don't get off early. And then the third day of practice, I finally catch 1 bass. Fourth day of practice, I catch 3. And in the tournament, I catch 1. And I'm in second place for Angler of the Year, by like 2 points behind first, going into the final event on Lake Ontario. So I slide out and I'm fishing the lake in practice. It's dead flat. And I check the weather and it's like 15 from the west. And I'm like, they're going to shut the lake off. What am I doing? I'm like, I end up finding at 2 p.m. I said, I'll stay on the lake till 2 p.m. and I'm going to get off and go to the river for the afternoon. Cause I'm like, I'm going to be stuck in the river. And I'm not really a big fan of the river. I like the lake much better. And so I get out there and I end up finding this mega school of them. And I dropped my trolling motor in the water and I just got live scope and there's like 15 of them out on this little ledge thing. I idled them and only saw 3. And I put my trolling motor down and I pitched out there and catch one almost 6. And I was like, oh my, because I'm thinking every single one is that big, which I'm pretty sure they all were. Like, it's a 30-pound school of fish. And I catch the one and they all leave. They were gone. Like, I fought the fish and got back up on the front deck and they were completely gone. So I had a little glimmer of hope and they left the lake open for us in the first day of the tournament. So it's a 2-day event for the final. So I run out to the lake and I catch like 2 5 1/4s or, back to back. And I said, oh my God, I'm going to have a shot at this, like winning Angler of the Year and the tournament, maybe. And I catch 2 more 4s and like a 3-pounder. And I'm running around. The lake dies down. It was really windy, but it started to die down. And I'm not afraid of big water. That's one thing. Like living on Champlain, it gets big, but Ontario gets way bigger. And buddy, if I can go somewhere, I'm going to go. Like, I'm not afraid of it. So, and my boat's like, has taken the beating, it's paid the price. So, anyway, I right at the end of the day, I drop down, I see a giant. Oh my God. Oh my God. So,
yeah, my fishing pole's not out here.
Is that your dad?
That's actually my roommate named Daddy. It's his nickname.
Ratings are going to go through the roof here.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was a good deal. So anyway, I see this one giant. I have like an hour left of fishing and I see it on live scope. I'm about to pull my trolling motor up. I see it out. I drop down and I hook it and it ends up breaking me off. I have a 3-pounder in a live well. I come in 3rd place in this tournament. I do win Angler of the Year, but I come in 3rd place. I lose by like 1/4 of an ounce to first. They canceled day 2. And that fish, like that sucker was probably definitely 4 to 5, maybe even 6. And I would have won that AVA, which would have been nice. But it just, stuff happens. But ended up winning Angler of the Year, which is awesome because it was the first time I'd fished Oneida and Cayuga and the St. Lawrence River. And
yeah, because
had a pretty good season.
You kind of like a Champlain guy before last year. Has this made you kind of want to branch out more, or are you still?
Yeah. So what really probably got me was I know a lot of guys, like all of you guys on the lake here, all the really good guys like Chris, Jason Stoddard, like Randy Savage when he would fish tournaments, JJ Judd. Everybody seems like they always fish Champlain every week. And I'm like, do these guys ever go like to the other tournaments or like other lakes? And in 17 or 18, like getting some taste of those Costas, I was like, man, dude, this is what I live for. Like, I don't, these like $700 or $1,000 victories you get in like the small team tournaments here, like that you can fish every weekend. I'm like, I don't really live for this deal. So I kind of started changing my attitude towards, like, I knew I had to stop fishing some of the smaller events. You know, there's nothing wrong with doing it, but I just was like, man, I kind of feel like I should, you know, branch out and try to be more like a Joe Lucarelli or like the Johnston brothers or some, like, you know, those guys that fish all the coastas around here. And, you know, maybe I can like make a name for myself and, you know, have more chances at winning those big tournaments. Because if you fish only Champlain, you really only get one shot a year.
Yeah.
And some years we don't even have a costa. And so around then was when I decided, like, I learned, I'm like, yo, Ryan, like, we got to stop doing this every weekend. Like, you know, we got to kind of mess around. So then I started, you know, being like, let's fish, or we're going to just do all the coastas last year around in Plattsburgh or in New York, and they got all canceled. And I'm like, I don't really want to go out to Erie for three tournaments. And so that's why we just stuck with the ABAs. So I had beforehand, and now I'm really kind of into it. Now I spend a lot of time not on Champlain. I spend a lot of time on Lake Ontario, to be honest. Like, I just go out there and graph, and I go out there and stay the weekend, and, you know, I have a place I stay at, and it's a pretty good deal. And you learn a lot when you go to other lakes. Is what I picked up real quick is, you know, every pro says it, like, don't fish your home water all the time. You know, fish different bodies of water. That's the way to get like good really quick, is to have a lot of experience. And so hopefully this is like the start of it. You know, I'm so young, still only 28 years old. So hopefully this is like the start of, you know, maybe in 20 years we'll be looking back being like,
I think,
man, that's pretty good.
I think just one thing, Brett, that I want to comment on before we're going to do a little special segment here, but I just want to comment on that. You're literally, I don't know if you're doing it last year, but you're obviously doing it now, maybe a little last year as well, that you're committing that time. You're driving out there to Ontario and putting in that work. And I think that gets overlooked, whether it's here whether it's Champlain or you going out there, how much time and work it really takes to have a major success. And like, it wouldn't surprise me if you look 5-6 years down the road and all of a sudden Brett Carnright's got a major win on Ontario, and it starts from, like, there's very few shortcuts in fishing, right? Like, it all comes back to that hard work. And I think that's that's one takeaway, that everything is kind of automatic in today's day and age. Everybody wants that instant you know, gratification and instant success. And I think that, like, that's a prime example of what it really takes. And that's you going out to Ontario on a weekend where, hey, you could stay local and fish a club tournament and win on Champlain, but you're going out there to put in the work to pay off on a bigger level down the road, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. At least I hope that's the deal, because I learned, like, through Champlain, like, boy, if I can do this on other lakes, you know, I don't need to fish the lake all year long to do, like, I understand the patterns and I can just come back. Like, I mean, to be honest, dude, I don't really fish that much in May. That's when I usually graph. Like, I fish a little bit in April, but like in May of this year, I spent 4 weekends on Lake Ontario. I would do like a Friday to Sunday, and I wouldn't shut my engine off for 16 hours straight. Like, I graph for 16 hours and I get off the water and I go to sleep and I wake up at 4 a.m. and I go idle again. Like, my engine had 100 hours on it this spring, and it has like 305 right now. Yeah. So, you know, 200 and a little over 200 hours. And it's beginning of June or end of June now. But I mean, the beginning of June, I think I had like 290. So a lot of time.
I just traded my boat in. This spring. It had 220 hours on, and it was a 2017 engine. So yeah, you beat that in 1 year.
Bill Spence is one guy. He like loves it, dude. I have a new engine, like, that I got in September last year, but I have like 1,600 hours since 2016.
You just ruined my question. That was the next segment. You just ruined my question. I'll come up with
do you want to get right into it? Let's get right in there. We're halfway through, and Brett, I don't know if you've seen, but like usually at the midway point of every podcast, we try and do what are we calling it, Tommy? I lose my.
I don't know. 10 rapid fire.
10 rapid fire questions, and Tommy usually does it. So
my very first question, because I've heard the legendary stories about the hours on your engine. This will be just an extra. I'll think of something else. I'll give another question. But how much you said 1,600 hours on your 2016 Pro XS?
Yeah.
And so you did it in 5 years.
Yeah.
So basically over 300 hours a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
I think over 1,000 of it is at idle, or 1,200 of it is at idle. Of that 1,000. But on like 200 of it's on Ontario. You can cover, if you're idling around for 200 hours, you can cover a lot of water.
So 1,600 hours. Let's talk about damage done. How many power heads? How many lower units?
Okay, so one lower unit, and the lower unit actually didn't fail. It just the seals were bad, and it was full of water. So it was still running. That was actually in the 2018 Costa. I was running an engine with water in the lower unit.
Wow.
I did break down. The first time I ever broke down was in the 2018 Coast on day one. I had 21 pounds, 7 ounces in the live well. I was at Cumberland Head Point getting water, 15 minutes till I had to check in, which is the perfect place to break down on Lake Champlain, like just past the ferry going south. I had a fuel rail diaphragm go out, broke down, got a ride in with somebody else, had plenty of time. And, but boy, man, day one of the Coast that you break down, it's not a good deal. And so one lower unit, the fuel rail deal, and one power head. The power head went out in September of last year.
That's it? That's not a lot.
Yep.
Pretty
I had
good.
1287 on the power head when it went out. And then if you add on what I have now is 303.
So we'll call it 2,000 hours since 2016. Seriously, that's legit.
No, but my old Lund had way more hours on it, I think. But we don't know.
Your old Lund, I remember seeing like pics and videos of it. You had like better electronics on that thing than I've ever had, I think. You had like 2 HDSs, like that thing was tricked out. You had that front deck you built on it.
Yeah. Customized boat. Two HDS 10s I had on that.
Who bought that boat from you? Do you know who has it?
So I kept it for a year after I got this boat, and then my neighbor said that his buddy was looking for a boat, and I said, dude, I got one in my garage. It's got a cracked hull, like the aluminum cracked on it. It's like the hull split in two.
Shocker.
Like
Shocker. Haus has a cracked hull. I haven't heard that before.
So anyway, he was a welder, and I said, if you can weld aluminum, you can have it for $1,000. So I sold it to him with a trolling motor, 70-pound Minn Kota Maxim, the batteries, rigged for Lowrance Electronics. So like Ethernet, power cables, transducers, like pretty expensive stuff when you add it all up. And then the motor, which was like an 86 Mercury, and sold him to her for $1,000. It's over in St. Albans. I think the guy fishes like Shelburne Pond, and supposedly he still has it.
The small party, you want to find it and buy it back just to have?
I don't know, because I don't know where I'd keep it. Like my parents were kind of like, we got to get this out of the garage, like, but
all right.
It was an awesome boat, dude.
Question 2, you have to give up one from your life completely: a flogger or a Labatt Blue?
Labatt Blue.
Really? I guess you're a big flogger, huh? Okay.
Yeah. I will give up the Labatt Blue, no problem.
Don't even need
to keep a flogger. I have one in my garage. I've never used it. Like, I don't know.
I'll show you. This is mine. I've even got this little orange spot on it. That's where I know where to grab it. So that way I can line up the face part the right way.
Yep.
So when I just turn around and grab it, I don't grab it on like a deal where I can't like get a good look into it. So I have the orange spot right for my right hand. But
nice. See, I see people use that, and I'm just like, man, that looks like a lot of work. Like,
it is.
But it pays off, apparently, judging from what's happening. So
I could say I was telling Ryan about this.
Overrated, Brett.
The flogger is the worst physical abuse I will put my body through this year. Like between
It looks
my
rough.
job,
It does.
between lifting weights, I like lift weights all the time. And like that flogger dude will beat the crap out of you. Like I get so sore, my hips hurt so bad. Like after a day of using the flogger, it feels like you get run over by a truck. Like it honestly sucks.
Like 1,000 burpees up and down. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next question. This is kind of a trick question right here. Name one bass angler you know of that ran 3 graphs on the bow before you did. There's your answer. No one. You were the first person. This was probably like 2016 when you first got your boat. You were like the first guy I knew that had the 3 graphs on the front of your boat. Like I don't know anyone else that had one before you. Any pro right?
I did have the original live scope, but I didn't like it and I got rid of it.
Yeah, but do you know anyone that ever had the 3 graphs up front like you had? You had like the balls out mount for one of them, and then you had the double mount. Like, and everyone was like, Haus has fucking 3 graphs on front. What's going on with that? And now it's like a normal thing. Seriously.
Yeah.
Like, can you think of one person that had it before you?
No, dude, I don't even know anybody that had like 2 graphs on the front.
Right. You were the original. All right. I'm trying to give you some props here. Question 4. Lake Champlain borders like 2 states, Vermont, New York. Touching Lake Champlain, where do the better bass anglers live, Vermont or New York?
Vermont.
Okay.
Just more of them, Brett, or like what's your rationale?
I wanted him to start some beef and this to roll into something like guys like Haus is talking shit about Vermont anglers, but no.
Dude, there's way more. But I think Randy Savage lives in New York, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So
but he's Vermont at heart.
Yeah, he's an old time Vermont. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say like myself, Casey Casamento, Ryan Lattenville, Alec Morrison, Miles Talata, and
these are all Champlain Bass Series alum, by the way. Like these are all guys that used to fish Champlain Bass Series.
We're like the only ones over here.
Yeah, was tournament bass fishing like I know on the Vermont side, like the history goes way back to like I think the early 80s when like Tom LaVictory Sr. was one of the first guys, Ray Soprano. Tommy, you probably know some guys from up your way, but was it more popular and more established on the Vermont side going back that far than it was on the like in Plattsburgh and on the New York side? Or
I think so. I think about like the older New York guys. It's like Jim Jeffries.
Yeah.
I can't really think of like back when I first started as far as like the OGs. They were all Vermont side.
Ricky Doyle was an OG. He was a stud from like Keysville area and fish the tour and stuff. Yeah.
But it is funny because like I said, that crop of New York anglers all came up Champlain Bass Series, and now they're all kicking everyone's ass. So
yeah.
All right. Do you still exclusively use Bass Pro Shops Excel Mono?
Yes. No, not exclusively, but for mono, yes. But I've got it right here. So listen.
Brett Carnright knows a lot more about fishing than I do. But I remember that day I took him out as a coingler, and he's showing me this Bass Pro Shops Excel Mono is the best line ever made. I'm like, you're drop shot with bud? Are you sure?
Yeah, dude. So I use Seagar, Abrazex, and Vizex like for bait casting stuff, and then for spinning rods I use Tatsu on a braid. You know, I'm using Power Pro braid. But then
you stepped up to braid. I'm proud of you.
I probably like right after 2014, I probably switched to the braid deal. But look at this, dude.
You still got it.
I got 14, 12, 17, and 10.
So what do you use it for? Talk about mono. I don't think I use mono for anything. What do you use it for?
I only use it. So 2 deals. I crank with it in the springtime, but when the water's colder than like 50 degrees, I like cranking with mono. I think it does better in the cold water. Like for some reason, the cold with fluoro is like really weird. I really enjoy using mono in the spring, cranking, and then I use it for top water.
Yeah, the same way.
And that's it. And I use that mono, and I don't know. It's like I think it's Trilene XL is like what the brand actually is. Like, if you compare the two lines, people say that it's identical to that Trilene XL, and you get it for like $25 for a bulk spool, and it lasts you like 3 years. And
they used to say the same thing about Bass Pro fluorocarbon before it got more expensive, that it was really the Torre Super Hard or whatever. It was just one company was making it and they're putting different labels on it. But
yeah, and all the other stuff like fishing reels and other stuff like that, it's made by a lot of the same companies.
Right. Same factories, Abu Garcia, Luz, and Bass Pro Shops.
Yep. But still got it in the boat. I still use it.
Still got it. Okay. Just wanted to make sure you still had it. That was like 8 years ago, but you're still rocking it. Cool. All right. Next question. This is kind of pertinent to your last win, but what's the best way to catch post-spawn smallies in your opinion on Lake Champlain?
The top water.
Top water. Okay.
Yeah. A Lucky Craft Sammy is the best smallmouth topwater.
Like the older Sammys or even the current production ones? Didn't they change a little bit?
I don't know, dude. I've been using the same Sammy for like 5 years. I haven't broken it.
It's probably a good one. That's the deal.
So the deal is it's got I believe it's made out of butyrate. That one, they're like some of the old ones I think were made out of butyrate plastic, and it has like a different sound to it, and it's like a denser plastic, I believe. And then they probably switched to just the normal plastic that they use. But a lot of the old school stuff that's really good, like the old KVD 1.5 and the old Red Eye Shad, and old Lucky Craft stuff was made with butyrate.
Is that like Gatorade or something different? a little different. Okay. Question 7. I think I know the answer to this based on your chat before, but pick a tournament lake that you love besides Lake Champlain.
Lake Ontario.
Lake Ontario. Okay, we got that for you. Better net man, Ryan Lattenville or Casey Casamento?
Ryan Lattenville.
Yeah.
But Casey's really good too. They're both really good, but I fish more tournaments than Ryan. So
yeah. Now, when you're fishing with Casey and Ryan, who's catching more fish usually up front? You're the two of them.
It's usually about 50-50. Like at the end of the day, it's typically 3 and 2 in the live well, or 3 and 3 or 4 and 2 if we're doing 6.
Yeah. See, when I fish with Chris, I just try to catch one. I just want to contribute something. I'm like, this is my contribution today. So, all right. If you can pick one flipping bait for Lake Champlain, what are you going with?
A 3/4 ounce hack attack jig, probably Okeechobee craw colored.
Yep.
Because that's probably the best color for tournament season from like July until September. Okeechobee craw's the best. If you're talking about the whole year, probably like that brown with a little bit of orange in it. I forget the name. I think it's called Alabama craw. I really like that color too. But second would be the Missile Baits D-bomb. If I had the Texas rig something, but
all right. Is there a reason you go to a jig versus a beaver bait or vice versa?
I feel like a jig, you can kind of, when you flip with it, I got mosquitoes all around me. I think you can kind of hop it a little better. Like when you flip it out, 30 feet from the boat, you can kind of snap it. And I think it's better in the water. Just like crawling across the bottom. Maybe it looks better to the fish. I just think a jig just catches big ones. And a flipping like a D-bomb, I like in tie when you're flipping shallow grass where you're just in and out. I think that might work a little bit better. But up north when you're flipping like 6 to 10 feet, I think the jig is the best.
Gotcha. All right, last question. So we kind of talked about earlier, 2013, you went from boater all the way 2016, you're already doing well as a boater. As a young guy, name an angler that you know of, a younger angler that's you can see doing kind of the same trajectory as you did. Either side of the lake, doesn't matter.
So one guy, but he's already been into it for a long time, is Alec Morrison. Dude, I think he has 2 seconds on the Costas as a co-angler. And I mean, he's a boater now. He just got a boat last year and started fishing as a boater last year. Came in second, I think, in the ABA on Lake Ontario last year as a boater. second or third. Came in second on Lake Oneida in the ABA as a boater, and I came in third in that one. And then honestly, one of the best anglers I've ever been in the boat with that's young is Ethan McMahon. Just like so much talent. Like I fished with him just one day, but it was like something I mean, I don't know if he's still into bass fishing as much. He's still really young. I think he might be like 17 or 18. But if he gets into it and gets a boat and says, I want to be like hardcore, like, 100 days, 200 days a year on the water type of deal. Like I could see him, and Bill Spence has fished with him too and he just got so much skill, like pretty crazy. That kid, he's in Vermont. I think he's over somewhere on the north side of Vermont.
I think he's got both.
It's nuts. Me and Chris have talked about this before on different episodes, but the level that these kids are at now, it's like crazy. I remember in high school, I could throw a spinnerbait in a tube. That's, you know what I mean? I had like 3 rods. These kids now, they're good. So
crazy. I got just one bonus question here for you, Brett. You get to have a beer. You got with one person, Don Cherry, Donald Trump, or Kayla Caden. Who are you having a beer with?
Oh my God, dude, Kayla Caden. For like 100%.
Okay. Pretty good. All right. That was a rapid fire 10 there. That was fun. Just want to we got like, maybe we'll go like another 15 minutes, but we want to kind of dig into you're fresh off 2 wins to start the season, which is hard to do, unheard of. I think I did it once. I think Bill wrote about it in the Champlain Bass Series recap that there's certain guys that get on these kind of little runs. I think you finished with a win in the CBS last fall. Is that correct? And now you've got 2 wins to start the season, and guys just get in these little roles. I think LaBelle did it. LaVictory was doing it for a while. You're doing it now. Like it just kind of guys get on these little roles. Walk us through these first 2 events of the season and kind of what you did and how you got it done.
Okay, so the first event was Champlain Bass Series out of Point Rush. I practiced for 3 days. I put in a week. The week before was the first day I've been on Champlain since April, right? Because I was on like I spent a lot of time graphing. So I came back, I hadn't even caught a bass in over a month, and but I had been putting a lot of time in idling around. But anyway, bed fishing, right? Full swing. If you're not fishing bed fish in June, like you're not going to win. Like it can happen where you can win, but it's like 99% chance you're going to win on beds.
I disagree.
It's happened a couple times. I
won an ABA in 2012, maybe all largemouth. So I disagree.
Oh my God. So anyway, so where it's at, right? I put in 3 days. I put in 1 day the week prior, and then Friday and Saturday. The tournament was on Sunday. All 5 of my fish were bed fish, and I had 21.53 pounds in that tournament. Ryan Lattenville, my cousin, came in second with 21.40. So it was real close, like a 1 or 2 ounce deal.
Yeah.
And I just, I kind of have an idea of, I've been bed fishing since I was literally since I first started fishing. Like it wasn't like I just got into it. So, every year we learn more and more, and Ryan and I put our minds together for everything, right? It's not just me on the water. I've got Ryan on the water. We share everything. Him and I are cousins, right? So it's not like we're buddies that met each other. I've known him since I was born. And we've been best friends. We played hockey together, everything. So we share everything. We share waypoints. We talk about what we're going to do for every tournament when we're fishing against each other. And so we're both put our minds together, and, we break down stuff twice as fast, and ended up finding some real big ones on beds, and I knew with that tournament, like I had a pretty good shot at probably winning, as long as the fish stay. It was one of those deals where I just was like, boy, this is kind of magical. And I kind of just got lucky. Like I said, after the win, It's just who can find like a 4.5 versus a 4-pounder. That can be the difference. That is the difference. Like 5 or 4 bags over 20 pounds. Like if one of those fish is a 4-pounder, not a 460, that's, and then another one's gone, like that's kind of big. That's the difference between first and third.
Yeah. So how many of those fish were you using the flogger for? To find?
I actually find them with my eyes, but in that tournament, it was kind of windy, so I had to use the flogger to see them. But I could see them naked eye.
So that's in your opinion, the bigger advantage for the flogger is actually when it's windy, rough, horrible conditions to see the actual bed. It's not necessarily.
Yeah, you can't drift. I see guys drifting around with the flogger off the side of the boat. I'm like,
yeah,
I'm like, oh, they're not gonna find, like, it's so hard to find a bedfish like that. Like the bed blends in better when you don't have the sunlight. When you look down to the water, they can be hard to see sometimes. The bed with the flog, like when you're using the flogger, unless you know exactly where it is.
Yeah.
And you got to use your eyes like I'm a trolling motor.
Yeah, I totally agree. Brett, hey, just a quick question on that. With obviously you're working close with Ryan and you guys share a lot of info and all that. How does that work when you guys are probably fishing a lot of the same areas and you've got your you weigh 21.5 and he weighed 21.4. Do you guys ever kind of overlap on fish and or do you guys kind of plan that out in advance so you're not competing, hurting each other? How's that work?
Yeah, we don't see each other in practice. Sometimes we kind of get close, but never like within sight.
Okay, so you kind of stay away enough from each other to where it's a non-issue.
Yeah, and that's how we fish also in our just normal fishing tournaments. Like, we rotate. Yeah, we'll do a different. Everybody's like, oh, I got on a bad rotation. The pros, Ryan and I will rotate like opposite ways. In tournaments. So like he'll hit stuff in the morning, I'll hit it in the afternoon. Yeah. He'll hit stuff. He goes behind me sometimes, like 2 hours behind me. And that's how you can kind of divide. But we've got a lot of stuff on this place, and a lot of times we don't even cross paths. But if we do rotate, like we're usually opposite times of the day from each other.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. Okay. So obviously Champlain Bass Series, first of the year, you win that, and then 21.5-3, I think, and then you followed up the next weekend with 21.3 in the ABA. Was that right?
Yeah. 21, I think 4-1
okay.
Maybe.
Yep.
So that bag of fish, I did not see that one coming. That one was not. It was some bedfish, but what the deal was is I got on a post spawn bite. Yeah. At least I think they were post spawn, not pre spawners. And I caught like a 480 that culled out a 380, and I had about something close to 20 pounds, and then caught that one giant one that put me over the edge. I think I possibly would have won without that one, but it would have been like I probably lost by like an ounce or two had I not caught that big post spawner. But I'm a real big guy on like towards the end of June getting on that post spawn bite. And I've kind of started to understand the parts of the lake that go off quicker, even down like a certain bank, like 1 mile away from another section. Like when you spend a lot of time on the water, you can kind of figure out like, hey, this place is a little bit farther ahead than, a mile or two away from here, based on, which fish pull up quicker, maybe to spawn, or not necessarily water temperature, but grass growth. The grass might be a little bit farther ahead. So I kind of had like one little deal where I said, if it's going to go down, it's going to go down up here. And I caught one giant one. It worked out. Like, I was like, I'm just going to go up there and hopefully maybe luck into a big one. And you don't think you're going to luck into one almost 5 pounds in June on like a post spawner, right? And I caught that one. And I was like, oh boy, like I'll have a shot now. And but that win came as a surprise. I knew I could have a good tournament, but I didn't think that I was going to catch a bag like that.
So that was an interesting point you made about, because I certainly see it in even small areas in terms of spawners coming up. You see like little tiny stretches and sections where they might come up early, and then there may be some that come really late. So like in terms of your post spawner planning, you kind of know like the little niche areas that they may have come up really early, and now they're further along and they're post spawn and feeding and maybe weigh a little bit more. Is that what you're saying with the post spawn deal?
Yeah, like you just the fish are just a little bit farther ahead, and it's also history knowing like, hey, if I can find like typically around this deal or this deal, like there's like a few areas I'll check. And in the CBS tournament the week before, I saw 2 big ones come up, and I didn't catch them, but they're both like maybe 4-pounders. I said, all right, this little section right here, if I'm going to have a post spawn bite, I think this is going to be it.
Yeah.
So you've had a lot of success fishing the spawn. What's your opinion about fishing a tournament? Would you rather fish a spawning tournament or not? Like, I'm just interested to know the answer to this question, because I've talked to some other guys that I'll kind of circle back on in a second that are kind of like, I could do without fishing for bedding tournaments. I'm like, really? You do well all the time? They're like, nah, I don't like it.
Oh my God.
What do you think?
I don't like it. It's funny that you brought it up. Like, I've had a lot of success with it, and I don't like it. Like, I try to get out of it as quick as I can. Like, I cannot wait to get the flogger out of the boat.
And so Chris and Bill Spence, who both have had some really good runs fishing, both said the same thing to me. And these are guys that have won a lot of bedding fish. They're like, I hate it. I can't stand it. You know what I mean? Not can't stand it, but I'd rather do something else.
Yeah,
Is it so much work?
Yeah, tons of work. I don't really enjoy it that much. It's not like fun fishing. And now, like, obviously it's kind of been blown up with media and everything else, and it's that much harder to, you're getting fish are getting split up and other guys are grabbing fish and all that. But I also think that as good as, like Tommy said, I've done pretty well on it and whatever, but I think that it'd be great if they changed the seasons or the season openers and maybe extended the bass opener a little later so that it wasn't impacting the lake too, so.
Yeah, dude, that's exactly what I think. Like, after I won the CBS, we hung out at Bill stayed the night at the Marine Village, and I'm like, Bill, why we got another bed? Like, I liked a couple of years ago we didn't do bed tournaments. We had like our first event in July, and I'm like, why you get throwing a bed tournament in there? He's like, we have to, like, for scheduling, right? It's hard to schedule around everything if you don't do a June tournament, which I get. But I mean, I just won the tournament, and I'm like, dude, like, I do it, but I just don't like, I love it. I mean, I don't love it, but I like it. Like, I can do it for like 2 weeks or so, but it's just not my deal. Like, I love fishing deep. I'd rather have 3 tournaments in September in August than have a bed deal. And Ryan feels the same way about it. We've been saying for years that they need to do kind of like what Canada just did, is have it open until like first week of May or last week of April. Let us do tournaments in April, like 2 weekends in April, and then shut it down until July 1st.
July 1st. Yep.
And I mean, I do well bed fishing, and it's not like I'm like not good at it, right? If I was like somebody that wasn't doing well, it would be like, well, yeah, because you're not good at it. But I've had a lot of success with it, and coming from me, I'm just like, I could do without it 100. And I've never talked to anybody else about it, so it's kind of interesting that you say Chris doesn't really enjoy it. And I bet Tommy LaVictory, he was like one of the best bed fishermen on the lake too. He probably is like, man, I'd rather be flipping tie and catching largemouth.
Right. Well, it's the one time of year when the tournament directly correlates to how much time are you going to spend on a trolling motor looking in the water for 8 hours a day. You know what I mean? Which obviously a lot of guys put in work for other tournaments, but it's not the same thing. You know what I mean? It's 8 hours, like I said, staring down, or maybe more for X amount of days to find a 4-pounder. So I get why guys say they don't like it. And, it's just interesting to me that guys say they don't like it that are very successful at it. So
and
I think they like it, but they could do without it.
I think Bill Spence hit the nail on the head too in his Champlain Bass Series right up for the tournament Brett won, that like, yeah, it's obviously easy to catch a a fish that's on the smallie that's on a bed, but like Brett knows the difference between 17 and a half and 19 or 18 and 20, like the difference in those weights, which correlates with your, if you're top 5 or if you win, is massive in terms of like you find an extra 4.5 or a 4 3/4, or like it takes so much time and work, as Brett knows, it's easy to catch those fish, but it's really, really hard to find enough of the quality that's going to take to win. And I think that that's the biggest difference between like Tommy said, it's time on the trolling motor. It's just a lot of work. And at a point it gets kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. I'm hoping I don't catch another bedfish the rest of the year.
Yeah, that'd be great. All right. I think we'll wrap it up here. Tommy, anything else for Brett?
No, I think we got everything right now. I know how many hours he has on his engine. So
Brett, what just to kind of wrap things up, what other than the CBS events, what else you got on the docket for this year?
Okay, so I'm fishing all the ABAs again. And I'm fishing right now I'm fishing the Costa and Champlain in 2 weeks. So I'm actually leaving this weekend. I'll go up to the Lake Ontario, St. Lawrence, and start practicing because we have July 10th. We have a tournament there for the ABA. And then I'll come back here and do the Costa or Toyota series on Champlain. And then I was thinking about doing the Bassmaster Open on Oneida, but that's the week after the Champlain event. I've already got 2 weeks off from work and I probably won't end up doing it. I probably can't even get into it now, but I'm doing the Bass Open on the St. Lawrence River in September. And I'll probably do the St. Lawrence River Coast or Toyota in August, end of August, out of Messina, and possibly the Potomac in September if I'm doing well in like the points or something like that. But that's the plan so far for what I've got. I'll probably hop in like a cash in, or if there's a Northern Bat or Reynolds that is on Champlain, Ryan and I will fish those as a team.
So the plan is to fish a lot, basically.
Yeah, like I think, and I'll fish the BFL in Champlain, and then
Are you touching Brian LaBelle for time in the water or not? Is it close or not even close?
Am I what? I didn't get it.
Brian LaBelle, are you touching Brian LaBelle as far as time in the water goes, or
like how much time he spends on the water?
Yeah.
No.
Not that level yet?
No, LaBelle's beats me, dude.
Yeah.
LaBelle's out there a lot. LaBelle's actually one of my real good buddies. Like LaBelle and I talk all the time. We're like real tight. We share a lot of information. We actually talk a lot. And he's really like trustworthy and he's so honest and he's like a really good buddy of ours. We just started hanging out with him like probably 3 years ago. And he is the best. I think he is the best bass angler on Lake Champlain. Like the guy weighs in more 20-pound bags than he doesn't. Like if he fishes 15 tournaments in a year, he will have 12 20-pound bags.
Right.
Like an absolute animal. And I find it so fascinating because he's like
any
the worst
fish.
guy.
Not
like,
just bass, any fish.
I'm
texting him questions about lake trout and he's sending me texts about this is what you got to be. He knows about any fish you can catch at that moment, what to use.
It's insane. He's so natural. Like he's terrible with his graphs. He calls me all the time. He's like he says on his Lowrance tech, and like he's just always messing stuff up. I'm like, dude, you just like it's simple stuff. It's like, oh, dude, click on like clear cursor. That's why your arrows like sitting on your graph, like stuff like that. And I don't even know how he finds fish with the damn thing.
He's crazy. I walked up next to his boat one time at it was one of the Reynolds team tournaments, and him and I think it's Adam, his partner.
Yeah, Adam.
Yeah. Him and Adam were kind of getting the boat ready, and I think he had like 2 rods on the deck, and he opens his main tackle, actually a couple of his tackle compartments. He literally had like 2 tiny little Plano boxes, maybe a couple of jigs, and that was it. And I was like, hey, where's your tackle? He's like, oh yeah, I got plenty. Like, and his compartments were literally empty, and he goes out and crushes like 25 for 6 or whatever it was, and just a freak, just unbelievable. I totally agree. I totally agree. He's in my opinion, all times of the year, the best bass angler on the lake. And like Tommy said, for any species, he's right up there for everything. So
yeah, LaBelle always says that I am. He's like, oh, dude, I'm like, dude, are you nuts? Like, I don't know. Like, he's just like, oh, I can't compete with you. I'm like, dude,
yeah,
whatever, dude. Like, I was so happy when the guy won that Bass Open a couple years ago. Like, I was like, because it was right after, I think I came in second. It was the same year, 2018. Was when, I think that's when he won, was 2018.
I think it was earlier, 16 or 17.
When LaBelle won?
Yeah.
No, 16 was the one that elite guy won, Schmidt. Brian Schmidt won in September. That was the one I came in seventh. And then I think it was in 18 when LaBelle won won his Bass Open. Because it was 18 because it was I was catching him, I remember, on this one deal. But anyway, when he won, I was like so pumped for him because he had a second place back in like 2011, I think. And
yeah, he lost to JT Kenny, and I think he would have won if he had a jig that was missing a barb. And Tommy, we
true story. We're going out for me and him both made the final day, and we're going out. He was in first place going on that final day, and I'm talking to him at the dock, and he's like, yeah, he had a crazy bag to the second day. He did over 20 pounds. He's like, I would have had like 23, 24 pounds, legit. He's like, the first two fish of the day, they threw the hook, and I looked at my jig, I had no barb on it.
No barb, yeah.
Oh my God, dude.
Jesus Christ, man.
Dude, that's a LaBelle story, dude.
Yeah.
It's just like, man, like, I'm happy he got it done. Like, there was something where I think he lost by like 3 ounces, and JT wrote like a message to him and said something like, thanks for doing this and like, giving me the 3 ounce. I don't know if he had a dead fish. I don't think so. I think Bill Spence was the one that's been dead Bill guy.
JT just had a monster bag. He had like over 20 something.
Yeah. But yeah, dude, look, I have so much respect, dude, like on Champlain for all you guys, like you, Tommy, Tommy, you don't even know, man. Like, you were so into it, and now it's just like, I see you at like one tournament a year.
Yeah, once I get this engine back in operation, I'll be back, brother.
Like, I'm like, man, I miss Tommy Waltz, dude. And
he's doing all the federation stuff to get the incentive, so we don't see him.
You know who I texted? The first person I texted is when I wrecked my buddy's boat down in Louisiana this year, because I destroyed his lower unit. I'm like, who wrecks engines? I was like, Brett Carnright. So I instantly texted him. I was like, bent prop shaft, tell me about it. And you're like, that's the one thing I've never done. I was like, oh man.
Yeah, I had never done it, but I asked if it was leaking oil yet, and you're like, no, I don't think. I'm like, it's probably gonna be fine, like for a little bit at least. Like, how bad is it? And I think you might have sent me a video of it spinning, and I was like, like I don't know.
No, yeah, I was like, who's the dude that wrecks boats on Champlain? Oh, it's Carnright. But you've only blown 3 things on your engine, so I was wrong.
And what probably, like, I got surprised by being like, wait, what? I think it was in like March or April, right? And I was like, Tommy Waltz is like, that's just the thing. I'm like, what? You're fishing a tournament? I'm like, what do you mean you're fishing some? But I know you got a family, right? And I know you had a young kid back when the Bass Series started. And I know that I've seen you around like as much, but like the guys, like day in, day out, right? You see those guys, Stoddard, some of my great buddies. I love talking to these guys at the tournaments. Stoddard, he hasn't been in a couple of years now. He's been pretty busy, but Stoddard, you, Chris, Bill Spence, LaBelle, there's just like so many guys, the Vermont guys mainly. That's why I don't get to see you guys as much, because you're in Vermont. But I love talking bass fishing. It's great.
Yeah, I think Champlain's got a pretty special like subculture. Like, and Brett, like how much time and effort you put into it. You want to see somebody from around here like get a major win. Doesn't matter who it is, you're rooting for them. And if you want to see somebody like when you had the deal where you came in second to Nelson, like you talked about them, that if you had won, maybe it would have launched a career. Like, I think there's a really good group of guys around here, and it's just it'd be great to see somebody kind of take it to the next level.
Yeah. And I mean, like the same, it's bass fishing, right? You're fishing against the fish. So it's like a different competitive deal than like growing up playing sports and stuff. And you can be like best friends with guys, and, they can catch them and you can catch them. And it's, it's literally you against the fish, and you can beat the fish that day and not win. And then days you do win, like the scales just go your way and you win. So it's definitely a good group of guys here on Champlain. And there's always there's just if you're fishing a big tournament or something, there's always 5 of us that are gonna do really well in it, and you just hope that that's why I said I was so happy for LaBelle when he won, dude. I think I might have been more happy than he was when he won that Bass Open. And then I remember when LaVictory won, I didn't know who LaVictory was at the time. I think he won in 2012, didn't he, or 2013?
13, I believe.
Dude, I just felt, man, when he talked about running back from tie with 14 pounds, thinking he had, I understand that feeling, coming into the weigh-in. And dude, that run from tie must have been absolutely gut-wrenching from him.
Yeah.
Coming back with 14 pounds. And then he pulls out that 5-pounder out of his bag and weighs in, I don't know if he needed 12 pounds to win or 14 to win, and he caught 15 or 16. I remember that, dude. I'm so big into the old stuff.
Yeah, me too. Yep.
Kind of history behind it. And I felt so happy for him. And I didn't even know who Tommy was, but I knew he was a local. And just hearing the emotion in him to win that tournament, and just, I'll never forget that. That was 2013, and I was really young still. And I remember it like it was yesterday. There's just so much history behind bass fishing. I think that's just the passion that I have for it. For all of it, from fixing boats to rigging tackle to graphing, which is some of the people say is the worst thing in the world, is sitting behind the wheel. They hate it. They can't do it. They got to be fishing. I'm like, oh, I do it. I'll go 1 month without fishing, without actually fishing. I'll just idle. And then the tournament deal. And then to top it all off, I mean, I fish from ice out in April until December. This year I fished until New Year's, and there's no tournaments, but I just love it. I just go out there, it's snowing. There's a good chance my bilges might freeze up and I might be in real trouble. And there's, stuff can go wrong, but I just go out there and I catch bass, and you just learn all the time. And I think that I'm probably one of the only guys that really does that I know. I don't hunt, and I just, every weekend I get out in the water. And I do it 12 months a year if I could up here.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we'll wrap things up here. Tommy, is another great episode. Brett, thanks so much for joining us on the Northeast Bass Fishing Podcast. A lot of fun. Obviously, you're one of the most dedicated and passionate anglers in our region, and a great start to the year with two wins to kick things off. And we wish you all the best the rest of the way this season. So good luck, and thanks again.
Yeah, thank you.